Hey everyone. This happened about 3 years ago, and honestly, my life hasn't been the same since. For context, I'm 29 years old now. Back then I was 26 and living in a small apartment in Texas. I had a decent job in IT, nothing fancy, but it paid the bills. And I had one person in my life I trusted more than anyone. My best friend. Let's call him Jake. Jake and I had been friends since middle school. We basically grew up together. Same school, same neighborhood, same stupid teenage mistakes. If you asked anyone who knew us, they'd probably say we were like brothers. And honestly, I believed that too. Jake was the kind of guy who could walk into any room and instantly become the center of attention. He was loud, confident, funny, and girls loved him. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one. The guy who sat in the corner, listened more than he talked, and avoided drama whenever possible. For years our friendship worked perfectly. Jake would drag me to parties, introduce me to people, and somehow make sure I didn't stay invisible. Then one day, everything changed. It started when Jake introduced me to his girlfriend. Her name was Emily. He brought her to one of our weekly game nights. Now normally Jake dated the kind of girls who loved attention and drama, but Emily was different. She was calm, smart, funny in a quiet way. And the moment she walked in, I noticed something strange. She seemed uncomfortable around Jake. Not scared. Just tired. Like she'd been dealing with something exhausting for a long time. But I didn't think much about it at first. People have complicated relationships. And honestly, it wasn't my business. Over the next few months, Emily started showing up more often when Jake and I hung out. At first Jake loved showing her off. But eventually, things started getting weird. Jake had a habit of making jokes at her expense. Little comments like, "Emily can't cook to save her life." Or, "She's terrible with money, I basically have to babysit her." Everyone would laugh, but every time he said something like that, I could see Emily's smile fade just a little. One night after Jake left early to meet some friends, Emily stayed behind. We were cleaning up the table after playing cards. That's when she suddenly asked me something unexpected. "Is Jake always like that?" I didn't know what she meant at first. So I asked, "Like what?" She hesitated for a moment. Then she said quietly, "Mean." That question stuck with me. Because the truth was, yeah, Jake could be mean sometimes. But I didn't want to say that. So I just shrugged and said, "He jokes around a lot." Emily didn't reply. She just nodded slowly. And that was the first time I realized something might be wrong. Over the next few weeks, things got worse. Jake started canceling plans with her. He'd disappear for entire weekends. And sometimes Emily would message me asking if I'd heard from him. I always felt awkward being in the middle. But I tried to help where I could. Then one night, Emily showed up at my apartment crying. Jake had broken up with her. Apparently they had a huge argument. According to Emily, Jake accused her of being too needy and said he wanted to be single again. Just like that. 3 years of dating, gone. Emily was devastated. And honestly, I felt terrible for her. So I did what any decent friend would do. I listened. 4 hours. We talked about everything. Her relationship with Jake. Her job. Her family. Life in general. And that night, I realized something I hadn't noticed before. Emily was an incredible person. Kind. Funny. Genuine. The kind of person who deserved way better than the way Jake treated her. But I pushed those thoughts away immediately. Because she was my best friend's ex. And there's an unspoken rule about that. You don't cross that line. Months passed. Emily and I stayed friends. We'd grab coffee occasionally, talk about work, send each other memes. Nothing weird. Nothing romantic. Just friendship. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. Then one night everything changed. Emily invited me to her birthday dinner. Just a small group of friends at a restaurant. At first I almost said no. But she insisted. So I went. And that night, something felt different. Emily looked happy. Genuinely happy. We talked, laughed, and shared stories for hours. At one point her friend leaned over and whispered something to her. Emily blushed and looked at me. I remember feeling my heart start beating faster. Later that night, when everyone else had left, we walked outside together. The city was quiet. Street lights glowing. Cool night air. And suddenly Emily stopped walking. She looked at me and said, "Can I ask you something?" I nodded. She took a deep breath. "Have you ever thought about us being more than friends?" For a moment, my brain completely froze. Because the truth was, yes. I had thought about it. A lot. But I also knew what it meant. If Jake found out, things would explode. And Jake was not the type of person who handled betrayal well. So I told Emily the only thing I could think of. I don't want to lose Jake. She looked down for a second. Then she said something that changed everything. He already lost you. He just doesn't know it yet. That line hit me harder than I expected. Because deep down, I knew she was right. Jake hadn't really been a good friend lately. He barely called. He never asked how I was doing. Everything in his life revolved around himself. Meanwhile, Emily had been there for me every single day. Supporting me. Encouraging me. Making me laugh. And standing there under those streetlights, I realized something terrifying. I was falling for her. Hard. So I made a decision. One that would change my life forever. I looked at Emily and said, "Okay." She blinked. "Okay, what?" I smiled nervously. "Okay, let's try." Emily laughed softly. Then she hugged me. And just like that, my best friend's ex became my girlfriend. At first, everything felt perfect. Almost too perfect. Emily and I clicked in ways I'd never experienced before. Same sense of humor. Same taste in movies. Same weird late-night conversations about life. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely happy. But there was one problem. Jake didn't know. And eventually, he would find out. For the first few months, Emily and I kept our relationship quiet. Not because we were ashamed, but because we both knew what would happen if Jake found out. Jake had a temper. And more importantly, he had an ego. The kind of ego that couldn't handle betrayal. Even if technically, it wasn't betrayal. After all, he was the one who broke up with Emily. But logic doesn't always matter to people like Jake. So we kept things low-key. No social media posts. No public displays of affection around mutual friends. Just quiet dinners, movie nights, and weekend trips. And honestly, those were some of the happiest months of my life. Emily and I became inseparable. She pushed me to be better. Encouraged me to apply for a promotion at work. Helped me redecorate my apartment. Even convinced me to start going to the gym again. For the first time in years, life felt stable. Peaceful. Normal. Until the night everything exploded. It was a Friday evening. Emily and I were at a small restaurant celebrating something important. Earlier that day, I had proposed to her. And she said yes. I still remember the way her eyes filled with tears when I got down on one knee. The way she laughed and cried at the same time. It felt like something straight out of a movie. We were sitting at our table, smiling like idiots, when suddenly I heard a familiar voice behind me. Wow, this is interesting. My stomach dropped instantly. I turned around slowly. And there he was. Jake. Standing a few feet away from our table. Looking directly at us. Then his eyes moved down to Emily's hand. The ring. The entire restaurant suddenly felt silent. Jake stared at the ring for a long moment. Then he laughed. But it wasn't a normal laugh. It was the kind of laugh people make when they're trying not to explode with anger. Are you serious right now? He said. I stood up slowly. Jake, listen. But he cut me off. No. His voice was calm. Too calm. You listen. He pointed at me. You're dating my ex. Then he pointed at Emily. And now you're marrying her? A few people in the restaurant had started watching. Emily stood up beside me. Jake, you broke up with me, she said firmly. That was 3 years ago. Jake ignored her completely. His eyes stayed locked on me. You were my best friend. I tried to stay calm. You left her. You made that choice. For a moment. Jake didn't say anything. Then he smiled. And that smile made my skin crawl. Congratulations, he said quietly. Then he turned and walked out. Just like that. No yelling. No fight. Nothing. Which somehow felt even worse. Emily grabbed my arm. That wasn't normal, she whispered. And she was right. Jake was many things. But calm wasn't one of them. Over the next few weeks, strange things started happening. At first it was small. Petty. Almost childish. My car tires got slashed. Someone left garbage all over my front porch. Emily received anonymous messages calling her a homewrecker. We didn't have proof. But we both knew who was behind it. Jake. Then things escalated. One morning I arrived at work and my boss called me into his office. Someone had sent him an anonymous email. The email claimed I had been stealing company data. Completely false. But it triggered an internal investigation. I was suspended for 2 weeks while they reviewed everything. Thankfully they found nothing. But the damage was done. Rumors spread fast. My reputation took a hit. Emily was furious. We need to go to the police, she said one night. But I shook my head. We can't prove anything. Weeks passed. Then months. The harassment slowed down. Eventually, it stopped. Emily and I started to believe Jake had finally moved on. Life returned to normal. We got married the following summer. Small ceremony. Close friends. Family. It was perfect. For a while. Then exactly 1 year after our wedding, something happened that terrified me. I came home from work and found the front door slightly open. My heart started racing. I stepped inside carefully. Emily? No response. The house was silent. Then I saw something on the kitchen table. A small envelope. With my name written on it. Inside was a single piece of paper. 3 words. I'm not finished. And at the bottom, Jake's name. My hands started shaking. I immediately called Emily. She answered after 2 rings. Hey, what's up? Where are you? I asked. At work. Why? Relief washed over me. I told her about the letter. There was silence on the phone for a moment. Then she said something that chilled me. I think Jake came to my office today. What? He didn't say anything. He just stood across the street watching. That night we barely slept. The next morning I decided something had to change. I called a lawyer. And we started the process of filing a restraining order. A few weeks later we finally had proof. Security cameras from a nearby store captured Jake damaging my car. That footage was enough. The police arrested him. And when they searched his apartment, they found something disturbing. Photos. Dozens of them. Pictures of me. Pictures of Emily. Pictures of our house. He had been watching us for months. Maybe longer. Jake was charged with stalking and harassment. Eventually he took a plea deal. 2 years in prison. When the judge announced the sentence, Jake looked directly at me. And smiled. That same creepy smile. But this time, it didn't scare me anymore. Because for the first time in years, he couldn't hurt us. Emily squeezed my hand as we walked out of the courtroom. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Marrying me?" I looked at her. Then shook my head. Not for a second. And honestly, even after everything that happened, I'd make the same decision again. Every single time. And that's the end of today's story. Honestly, situations like this really make you think about trust, friendship, and the choices we make in life. What do you think about this story? Did he do the right thing by marrying Emily, or should he have stayed loyal to his best friend? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read as many of them as I can. And if you enjoy these kinds of Reddit stories from platforms like Reddit, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more daily stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.